Good afternoon. Welcome to the Board of Equalization and Review of Buncombe County, North Carolina. I'd like to hear a motion calling us to session.
So moved.
Do we need a second? No, second. Oh, okay. First off, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Randall Barnett.
If you got a motion in a second, I'll vote to call the order.
All right. Do we have a motion for a second?
We
No,
did.
the
we
second was made,
Okay.
the motion was made by Dr. Leonard. Mr. Blake
Second.
Seconded that.
All those in favor of, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
All right. We're good to go. Thank you. That's not in here.
I know.
That's okay. All right. Let's introduce ourselves. I am Randall Barnett. We'll start.
Preston Edwards.
Glenda Weinert.
Bill Blake.
Katerina Leaker.
Okay. And has everyone read the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. All those, unless there's any questions, there shouldn't be for the consent agenda. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's approved. Next thing is the meeting from May the 16th. Everyone was here. Y'all remember the meeting and you've seen the minutes from the meeting? Everyone's seen those and able to have reviewed them?
Sorry to interrupt. You've already approved everything. It's under the consent agenda, the meeting minutes and the vote.
Oh, A and B.
In the values
I
changes.
see it now.
So,
I was going to ask about those values.
yeah. Any questions you have, I can answer those.
Values of how many properties?
Oh, should have been over 16,000. I don't know the exact number now. I did when we sent it. But what those are our normal notices of value that go out based off of building permits, things like that. They were, there's way more of them this year than there usually are. Usually there's about 10, 12,000. The additional 4,000 to 5,000 could be accounted for with the hurricane damage assessments that we did in office. So one of the improvements that we're going to make to that list, maybe in the next couple of years as we go by, we'll start populating reasons for each adjustment outside of this new notice of value, or also part of those is appeal results. But we had less than 200 informal appeals for real estate, probably because we got proactive and went out there and did those assessments ahead. So that is what all those value adjustments are on that list.
16,000.
Yes. I can get the exact count if you would like to have that, but I don't have it right now to fingertips.
And it probably includes our properties
Should, yes.
and yours.
Yes, if you guys did any adjustments to your property, pulled permits or called us, let us know about anything, or if you unfortunately had hurricane damage, your property should be on there.
All right.
Any other questions?
New business. Everyone has perused the new bylaws that we are going to talk about. If we have any questions about them, we have the person here, Kurt, that made the adjustments from how many pages? Probably from 9 pages down to 7.
I just made some basic, edits, trying to make things more definitive statements as opposed to mays and to have more shalls. But yeah, basically, I feel that these are streamlined enough. Now, you will have a separate document for procedures for the hearing that we'll get to you at the next meeting. But I think these bylaws give you a good basis for governance and moving forward. If you have any questions about any of the, most of the changes I did was just say board as
That
opposed to
was
Board of
99%
Equalization.
of it.
I mean, that was pretty much a majority of it. And then I took out some of the things that I didn't really feel were legally necessary to be in your bylaws, that they're in appeals manuals, they're guidance, but they're not really things that you should have codified in a bylaw.
Okay. point out one thing I mentioned to Randall and Dr. Weiner earlier is the main thing that we added into these bylaws under section E13 is the good cause section. So we are defining good cause in there to help you all with those proceedings where that might come into play. So
you added in about natural disasters, and
I did, absolutely.
I see the word hurricane.
Yeah, death of taxpayer, family serious illness, things like that you will hear. So if you have any questions about that, just please let me know. But that's really my biggest
Mhm.
addition that we've made throughout the weeks here. But you do have this is in your copy that you received, so nothing new. I am going to email you all after this meeting amendment. I already want to make an amendment to it that you can vote on the next one. And basically what I'm going to ask is that any appellant and the county provide you all with your appeal documents, all those things 7 days before the scheduled hearing date. So you will have time to review it. And if new evidence gets presented to you during the hearing, you can vote to hear it or continue the hearing at a later date so that you have time to review that evidence. Or you
That
can-
may be something that we can just put in the procedures
Oh, okay.
for a board hearing, that basically, one of the things is before the hearing, you need to get whatever evidence you're planning to present to the board, to the clerk, 7 days prior to a hearing. That could be a procedure as opposed to something codified in the bylaws.
And so if an appealant comes forward 6 or less days in with some new evidence, you'll take them off of that hearing, the next hearing, that hearing that's within 6 days.
Well,
And they'll have to
technically,
wait another month.
that would ultimately become a decision for the board to make. But what we're trying to avoid is, somebody coming in with like a huge appraisal or a huge manual at the day of the hearing, and then expecting you all to somehow be able to consume that document and, during the hearing, which isn't fair to you. That's the main thing. But I think, if it's something that's not going to necessarily delay the appeal or prevent you from making a decision, then you could probably either waive that procedure or allow that evidence to be brought. But the idea is that you're not surprised with things at the very last minute. So that, but you do have discretion to allow things. But I would try to be consistent. That's really the main thing, is to be consistent.
We probably would have done that anyway. If they surprised us, we would have tabled it to the next meeting. So the staff
Right.
would have time to.
Since most of these hearings aren't really like adversarial where there are two sides. I mean, there's the county has their position and the taxpayer does, but it's not like you have different individual parties. So there's not so much of people being sandbagged. That's kind of what you want to avoid, is people getting important evidence at the last minute and not having time to digest it.
So if I may, I'd like to make a motion that the bylaws be approved as presented.
All right.
Now, one thing that we did do in these bylaws, point you out, is that when you adopt these bylaws, there will no longer be a need for a second. So we've taken that out. Since you're a small board, we felt that, there's not really the need for that. So I do want to keep that in mind, because everybody's used to a second, but if the bylaws are adopted, there will no longer be the need for a second of a motion.
But right now we need one.
Sure.
I'll do the last second.
The last,
It's so sad.
It's
That gets some of us to say something during the meeting when we have seconds. All right.
yes, I have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions before we vote?
No, sir.
All right. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
It looks unanimous. There's nothing else
I think that's it.
on the agenda. That was too fast.
No, not really.
What time is it?
That's great.
I was going to ask though, on the hearing procedures, are we going to give time limits for testimony? I know they've done that in the past. I didn't know if we want to stick with that or not.
That's something that we can discuss, but I think that you end up running into due process issues when you're limiting somebody
Okay.
as to like how long they can speak. I think the chair or the board has some discretion in letting a party know, that's already been covered. You're kind of repeating yourself.
Okay.
And ask them to move forward. You do have that discretion, but I think like saying that you only have X amount of time to present your case could pose some due process issues.
Okay. Yeah, I just knew they'd done it in the past and I figured. Ask.
Normally when we put limits, it's on like public comment and things like that. And that's not really
What this would be.
pursuant, because this is really you will be hearing quasi judicial hearings. So really, public comment's not really relevant to that's not actual evidence.
Okay.
So.
Anything else? Anyone have any other business?
No.
I guess I can ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Because I don't have to ask for a second anymore.